Seen the drone shots and images we're getting of just destroyed Syria. But a lot of the folks who've made their way into Europe, a lot of those refugees, now a German spy agency is saying, well, some bad guys are slipping through the cracks. Maybe a lot of them, maybe a lot of ISIS recruits. That's what the agency is saying there. Former U.S. helicopter pilot Amber Smith isn't doubting it. But, you know, Amber, every time you and I talk about this, we just don't know how many, because there are obviously hundreds of thousands who've been displaced. And now the fear is this latest development is going to keep them displaced and sort of like nomads. What do we know about this?
So, Neil, right now, as you and I are speaking, ISIS terrorists are plotting attacks against the United States and our Western allies. And one way they are doing that is posing as Syrian refugees and exploiting the Syrian refugee programs that these Western countries have. We saw it happen in Germany. We saw it happen in France. And now our neighboring country, Canada, is looking to let in nearly 25,000 Syrian refugees, and we don't exactly have the tightest of borders to our north or to our south. And so it is going to make our attacks from ISIS inside America make us that much more vulnerable.
You know, Amber, I always think we're the catch-22. So these hundreds of thousands who are essentially kept in like these very large holding pens, because no one knows what to do with them, and they try to feed them and clothe them and provide some shelter. But it leads to more agitation, more rioting we've seen among those who've been penned in. And I wonder whether that's fertile ground for bad guys anyway. So for the few ISIS recruits that might be in those crowds, this whole situation is creating more ISIS recruits because the crowds have had it with the crowds.
It is. They're definitely taking advantage of the situation. They're using our own humanity against us. And there have been polls in the recent months that have stated that Syrian refugees don't necessarily want to come to the United States or to Canada. Nearly 50% of them would like to stay in their own region in the Middle East because they're not looking to become Americans. They're not looking to come over here and start a new life. They just want to continue to live their lives in peace
Amber,
inside Syria.
It's now out of control. These Aleppo images we're getting that looks like early days of Mogadishu. Obviously, it's been annihilated. These people have nowhere to go, and yet they try to cross over through the Mediterranean and more new waves that are coming. They can't go back there. Obviously, there's concern about terror elements over. You know, where does this go?
We can't keep pretending, we can't keep going a little bit farther. The Syrian refugee crisis is a symptom of the larger problem, and that is not dealing with the situation in Syria. It's not dealing with the ISIS caliphate in Syria and how it spread into Iraq. And so we're going to continue to see these Syrian refugee camps essentially as terrorism breeding grounds, and they're going to continue to exploit the programs that we have to get into these other nations. And so until this administration and our Western allies get serious about fighting ISIS, it means taking them out in their caliphate as well as going after their ideology. We're not going to see any changes whatsoever, and it makes us very vulnerable to terrorist attacks.
You're not kidding. This has accelerated. All right, thank you, Amber, very, very much.